What's up everybody, MikeMan2BBA here. Welcome back to another episode of Can't Stop Progress. It's episode 13 and we are back with chapter 54. We are in Brixton finally for We're Gonna Need a Bigger Room again, because imaginative names are my forte, as I'm sure you can tell from some of the titles of these videos. But we've imported Brixton into the mod. We're going to be there tonight for chapter 54. It's our biggest card to date, as you can see. There are 10 matches overall, a couple of angles thrown in there, but without further ado, let's jump straight into the show, where as always we start off with Jim Smallman in front of 2,425 people in Brixton Academy, with Jim Smallman welcoming everyone to the show. Gets us a 30E plus to start off with, and as you can see with the magic of editing, where if hopefully this works, you see some nice new graphics I've been working on, which is why this episode is a little bit delayed. But in our first match, Eddie Dennis versus Paul Robinson versus Tyler Bate, the sort of partners in crime of the three men in the main event for the Progress title. In a decent match, Tyler Bate defeats Eddie Dennis and Paul Robinson in 12 minutes and 12 seconds, when Tyler Bate defeated Eddie Dennis by pinfall with a Tyler Driver 97. Eddie Dennis, the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. Eddie getting a 26 to the 54 of Paul Robinson and the 57 of Tyler Bate. No worker improvements unfortunately, but a 45D is a decent match rating to start us off with, and hopefully we can move on and improve on that one as we move into our next match, where in a decent match the team JML, Shane Strickland and Sammy Callahan defeat James Davis and Rob Lynch of the London Riots. Got my tongue tied there. JML defeat the London Riots in 15 minutes and 22 seconds when Shane Strickland defeats James Davis by pinfall with a handspring back elbow. Unfortunately, the Riots not suited to their gimmicks. We might have to look to change that up soon. Rob Lynch with a 41, James Davis with a 37, Shane Strickland with a 45 and Sammy Callahan with a 46. Shane Strickland improving his performance skills, which is nice to see, for a 43D overall. Again, another solid match for these two teams. And then in our next match, a bit of a grudge match following what happened, following what occurred in the title match between Austin Aries and Pete Dunne, with Trent Seven and Tyler Bate interfering. Austin Aries got his hands on Tyler Bate. He's getting his hands on Trent Seven here. And in a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling, Austin Aries defeats Trent Seven in 13 minutes and 6 seconds by submission with the last chancery. Unfortunately, Austin Aries and Trent Seven didn't click. It showed in their performance as I knocked the table there. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for you guys. Austin Aries picking up an in-ring performance of 45. Trent Seven picking up a 31. Unfortunately, they don't click there, because that could have been a lot better. A 40D minus rating overall. Not what you'd expect from these two guys, but when they don't click, unfortunately. Following that, we have Joe Coffey coming out to the ring and complaining to Jim, John and Glenn that even though he is the Progress Atlas champion, at their biggest show of the year in Brixton, he doesn't have a match. And why does everybody else have a match and him not on the card? And Jim basically says, you know what, you want a match, it wasn't planned for the show, it wasn't booked, but if you want a match, you've got a match. And following that, we have a 6-man Atlas Championship match featuring the surprise return to the company of Michael Dante. It says here, elimination match. We'll ignore that. But in a decent match, Joe Coffey defeated Jørn Simmons, Matt Riddle, Michael Dante, Rampage Brown and Walter in an elimination match in 14-17. So not an elimination match, just in a normal match by pinfall. So Joe Coffey makes defence number 3 of his Atlas Championship title. Unfortunately, Michael Dante, in his return, gets himself a transverse process fracture. So hopefully that won't be out too long for Dante. But Coffey getting the best in-ring performance with a 50. Jørn Simmons with a 38. Matt Riddle with a 44. Dante with a 46 despite his injury. Rampage Brown with a disappointing 34. And Walter with a 41. For a 48D plus match, which isn't too bad. Dante and Walter both improving their Rumble skills, which is good to see. See if there's any more information on that Dante injury. He suffered it, but it doesn't look like anyone caused it, which is nice to see. Following that, we have El Ligero defeating Nathan Cruz in 13 minutes and 43 seconds by pinfall with an Albuto. Both men getting an in-ring performance of 39 and a match rating of 41D, so not too great but not too bad for these guys. Just continuing the feud between the former members of the Origin. And then following that match, in a surprisingly good result, in my opinion, the sweet team of Sweet Jesus, Chuck Mambo and Pastor William Eva versus the Hunter Brothers, Jim and Lee, and the Shirt Lifters, Jack Sexsmith and Roy Johnson. In a battle that had decent wrestling but not a lot of heat, the Hunter Brothers defeat Sweet Jesus and the Shirt Lifters in 13 minutes and 52. First eliminating the Shirt Lifters and then Sweet Jesus. Eva with an in-ring performance of 34, Mambo with a 36, the Hunter Brothers with a 53 and a 51, Roy Johnson with a 35 and Sexsmith with a 38. Eva improving his flying skills, Sexsmith improving his performance skills. Very good to see. Obviously the four guys fairly young still. The Hunter Brothers a little bit older and more experienced, so they're learning off those two guys. But a 47D, a very good result for this match. Happy with that. And following that match in just a standard exhibition match between two brilliant workers, Leo Rush defeats Travis Banks in 12 minutes and 30 when Travis Banks was counted out while fighting James Drake at ringside. So James Drake not very happy with Travis Banks following what happened, I believe, on the previous show. Lost to Travis Banks, but Travis Banks in a match against Leo Rush gets counted out while fighting off James Drake. So sort of count out slash disqualification, no contest kind of thing. Nice to see Leo Rush and Travis Banks have great chemistry, and it showed in their performances, which boosted them up to Leo Rush having a 48 and Travis Banks having a very impressive 58, and an overall match rating of a 52D+, which is very good for these two guys. I'm happy to see that. Following that, James Drake and Travis Banks brawl to backstage with a 50D+ rating there. Not too bad either. Just sort of carried on the feud between James Drake and Travis Banks. So that's two men now that Travis Banks has very good chemistry fighting against. That's James Drake and Leo Rush. Good to see that a guy that's going to be quite important to us going forward has a lot of good chemistry with some of the other guys in the company. Following that, our next match, the women's title match, Kaylee Ray versus Laura Di Matteo, and in a bout that had decent wrestling but not a lot of heat, Laura Di Matteo defeats Kaylee Ray in 13 minutes and 10 seconds by submission. Laura Di Matteo makes defense number 3 of her women's title. Kaylee Ray with an in-ring performance of 35, a little bit disappointing, but Laura Di Matteo with a very impressive 48. Looking at it now, definitely the right woman to put the title on. her in-ring performances beforehand and since holding the title have just been above and beyond what I expected of someone so young and so inexperienced. She's probably one of, if not the best woman on the roster at the moment, and improves her performance skills facing off against Kaylee Ray, so that's very nice to see. A 46D plus for the women's match. It says something about some of the women that we've got and the roster that we've got, that the women's matches are so good that they are on par, if not better, than quite a lot of the men's matches, which in maybe not just in Fleischer's mod, which is the one I'm using, in a lot of the databases the women are very, very poor compared to some of the men's ratings, so it's very good to see. Following that, we go into our semi-main event of the evening. It is a #1 contenders match for the Progress Championship. Axel Dieter Jr. versus Mark Haskins versus Marty Scurll versus Zach Gibson. 4 men on top of their game at the moment. Marty in here partly because he's been phenomenal recently, partly because Zack Sabre Jr. got a last minute booking, unfortunately, for I'm not sure which company, but he wasn't available for tonight. That's why there's no tag title match. But Zack Sabre Jr. not able to be on the card, so in comes Marty Scurll into this #1 contenders match, and in a decent match, Mark Haskins defeats Axel Dieter Jr., Marty Scurll and Zach Gibson in 16 minutes and 30 seconds when Mark Haskins defeats Axel Dieter Jr. by pinfall with a painkiller. Dieter Jr. with a 50, Haskins with a 54, Scurll with a 55 and Gibson with an impressive 58, giving us an overall match rating of 59C, which is very good. Unfortunately, no work improvements. That would have made this match brilliant. But Mark Haskins is your new #1 contender for the Progress Heavyweight Championship, World Heavyweight Championship, and he will be facing the winner of the next match. Following that, just before the main event, we have a little hype video which basically explains what happened at the end of the previous show, with Pete Dunne dropping the bout to Mark Andrews, but then Ospreay coming in immediately and winning it off Andrews. So just a little hype video, 49D plus, not too bad. As we go into our main event of Mark Andrews versus Pete Dunne versus Will Ospreay, where in a bout that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd, Will Ospreay defeats Mark Andrews and Pete Dunne in 19 minutes and 42 seconds, one of, if not our longest match of the series, when Will Ospreay defeats Mark Andrews by pinfall while using the ropes for leverage. Ospreay makes defense #1 of his Progress Championship title. Ospreay carrying the match ridiculously, getting himself an 80 in-ring performance, his best performance to date. Pete Dunne with a 54 and Andrews with a 48. Unfortunately, RJ Singh and Glenn Joseph on commentary not quite up to the standards of the match, so that would have deducted maybe 1 or 2 points from it, but still a phenomenal match, a 67C plus. And Ospreay manages to hold on to his title, pinning Mark Andrews, but having to use the ropes for leverage, so Andrews still has that Ospreay had to cheat to beat him, but in the end Ospreay did win. So Pete Dunne's reign is definitely over for now. Andrews, again, just unfortunate that he was the man to win the title at the times that Ospreay and Havoc had those chances to take it off him. But as we end our show, we finish on a 62C, so a very good show for in Brixton there, in front of our biggest crowd so far, with our biggest card so far. We increase our popularity in 45 regions, and following that we definitely have to praise Ospreay for a great performance, and we're going to speak to Zach Gibson and Travis Banks and compliment them on a good performance. and those three guys are pleased with that. There shouldn't be, hopefully, too many people upset because of that card. A lot of people are already upset, unfortunately. That's just what you've got to do when you've got a card this big with a company this small. But I believe there were only 7 men in the entire company. No, I think it was 5 men and 7 women in the entire company that weren't used on that card. So he did use a lot of them, and of those people I only count 1 or 2 of them as actual progress regulars. Pete Dunne's still upset at losing the title to Andrews, which is weird considering Andrews is his best friend. And interesting to see actually that since we have moved up to a regional company, that Pete Dunne does value progress over NXT, which is nice to see. And as you might be able to see here, Matt Riddle is off to train for an MMA fight in 33 days. So he will be taking a backseat after the next chapter, probably. So let's have a quick look at Dante's injury. He's out for a month, so he'll be back over just in time for the next show or the show after. But he's only on I believe a 2-match or 2 or 3 appearance deal, so he won't be around for too long anyway. We had a 2.83 TV rating for Brixton, so that is our most seen show. If I look for show history, definitely our most viewed show, definitely our highest attendance, and one of our best cards. Looking down, in fact it is our best card quite easily, so I can't think of anything that could have been improved on that show, really. We had our best ever in-ring performance from Ospreay with an 80, our best ever show rating, possibly our best match rating. I'm not going to look through all of them. Actually, I think I can look in here. If I just look in our user stats, we had our best show, our best match, and our highest attendance. So what more could we ask for from that? Just a phenomenal show at Brixton. Definitely worth importing them into the database and having such a big event at such an important venue for the company. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little match graphics I put up before all the matches, apart from the Atlas title match, because that was meant to show that it was booked on the fly, as it were, and also it's impossible to get a picture of Jørn Simmons. So Jørn, if you watch this, please just take a full body picture of yourself in front of a background so that we can make pictures of you. I'd appreciate it. And with that, guys, I will see you guys with the next episode, chapter 55. I'll have to think of the name of it at some point. And with that, I'll see you guys soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.